Today we bring to you a report on what to do in case of heavy rain. There's nothing like preparation when it comes to torrential downpour. Isn't that right?
That's right. You must turn off your gas and electricity and quickly evacuate from areas vulnerable to flash flooding.
What should we do if we are already outside?
Evacuate to a safe place, away from construction sites, underground spaces, and areas prone to frequent flooding. If you're driving, do not stop the car. Instead, slowly drive through the flooded area without stopping.
What should we do once the rain stops?
When going into buildings that have been submerged, do not touch electrical facilities and make sure to ventilate, as there is a risk of gas leakage.
We should also reduce preventable damages and prepare for disasters ahead of time by following safety guidelines.
That is correct. You can receive real-time safety information through the Disaster Safety Information mobile app, 안전 디딤돌.
Thank you for all the great information. Remember, your safety is everyone's safety. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산 영어방송.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
Chuseok is rapidly approaching, and since it's going to be an extra long holiday, many people have booked flights to travel, whether it be domestically or more likely abroad. Problem is, unionized workers at 15 airports across the nation have announced that they will go on a strike from September 19th through the Chuseok holiday. Will there be a compromise reached between labor and management? The clock is winding down, and we definitely don't want disruptions to air travel in what is shaping up to be an extremely busy and long holiday. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Tuesday, September 16th on BEFM 부산 영어 방송. Good morning, Wavers. I hope you're all doing well. So welcome to the program on this Tuesday morning. So a lot of uncertainties as we are racing towards that Chuseok holiday. Of course, I'll give you updates as they come along on that strike. Speaking of uncertainties are still lingering in the South Korea-U.S. relations. And this is making South Korean companies reluctant in making large-scale investments in the United States. There's still the issue of the trade deal details that need to be hammered out, with the South Korean Trade and Industry Minister having visited the U.S. over the weekend. The biggest risk, however, is with visas and immigration, as evidenced by the recent detention of over 300 Korean workers in Georgia. Authorities from South Korea and the U.S. have agreed to launch a working-level group to deal with the visa issue. But right now, everything is just up in the air. Tensions are rising as it's been reported that many of the detained South Korean workers were there legally and were not read their Miranda rights. The Foreign Ministry said that it will launch a fact-finding mission into potential human rights violations the South Korean nationals faced. This is from the Hyundai Motors and LG Energy Solutions battery plant, where the two corporations have invested $6.3 billion. We're talking about 8.8 trillion won. South Korean companies have collectively pledged to invest $150 billion or 205 trillion won to the various industries across the U.S. However, with the U.S. demanding the hiring of American workers across every stage, which Korean companies are saying is realistically just not feasible. And so this has to do with both skills required, as well as a lack of personnel in many of the areas where the companies are planning to build the factories. So with what's been going on, many firms are even considering diversifying their investment, maybe going to Canada or even Mexico, which could show that President Trump's America First policy may be backfiring. And for the South Korean government and corporations, their top priority is to put Korea first. All right, let's get to our text topic. Are you ready? Here we go. When you do something wrong, whether it's at home or work, how do you deal with it? Do you have any tips on not getting into trouble? 자, 직장이나 집에서 지각했을 때, 잘못했을 때 나는 어떻게 대처한다? 덜 혼나는 팁 있을까요? 네, 혼나지만 조금이라도 덜 is the point. You can send in your thoughts, your opinions to BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. Go to the YouTube platform, type in BEFM or 부산 영어 방송 to find our channel. You can subscribe and then you can log in and chat with our other waivers. Also, from your phone, pound 9050, shop 9050. That's going to cost you 100 won. You can also reach me for free through Kakao Talk. And with Kakao, same thing. You got to find us first. Type in BEFM, 부산 영어 방송. Add us as a friend. And then you can send in your messages and photos as well. The ways you can tune into Morning Wave in Busan, 90.5 or 103.3 FM on the radio if you're in Busan, depending on where you are. Like I said, we're streaming live right now on YouTube. You can watch again or listen again at your leisure. We're also available on the BEFM app and the Popbang app as well. Easy to download, free to use. Looking ahead to our morning together. It's Tuesday. We have Andrew coming in for Wave Sports. And then in hour number 2, we have Simply Sustainable with Bonnie. Our special interview today, we're going to be covering one of the hottest issues here domestically. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the separation of investigation and prosecution, South Korea's prosecutorial reform. And hence, that is why we are talking about this. So, and by the way, for Simply Sustainable, it's not Bonnie. It's Hannah. Do you remember? Yes, for the next few weeks, it's going to be Hannah, 조하나 대표님, that's coming in for Simply Ocean. So I misspoke. I apologize. Anyhow, I'll be back in just a moment with news overview. It's now 7:06 and this is News Overview. President orders for an independent probe into Coast Guard officer's death. President Lee Jae-myung has ordered for a thorough investigation into the death of Coast Guard officer Lee Jae-seok following accusations of an attempted cover-up by senior officials. Parties clash over claims that Supreme Court Chief Justice should resign. Major lawmakers from the Democratic Party, or DP, have publicly said that Supreme Court Chief Justice Cho Hee-dae should resign, casting doubt on his political neutrality in the top court's handling of the president's election law violation trial. Companies with repeated fatal industrial accidents to face heavy punishment. Companies that have seen repeated fatal industrial accidents will face fines of up to 5% of their operating profits, as well as their licenses revoked under the government's new measures. HYBE chair Bang Si-hyuk appears for police questioning. Chairman and founder of HYBE, Bang Si-hyuk, appeared for police questioning yesterday as a suspect over potential violations of the Capital Market Act. Trump expresses confidence in trade talks with China. U.S. President Donald Trump said that his administration's trade talks with China that took place in Spain have gone very well, with a conclusion to be reached soon. Trump hinted that he will speak to Chinese President Xi Jinping on Friday. This was News Overview. It's time for Now in Busan. We have Sejin in the studio. Let's say hi first. Good morning.
Morning.
Yes. So our text topic today, when you do something wrong, let's say at home or at work, how do you deal with it? And maybe you have any tips for waivers out there on how to not get in trouble or how to kind of get into less trouble.
Well, please let me know if you have any idea. I want to know the secret sauce.
Of not getting into trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, don't be late.
Oh,
True.
for broadcasting, number 1, don't be late. And number 2, my tip would be, since I've been here for a while, you have to pay attention to like the details. The details are so important.
Okay.
Because I think for, especially in broadcasting, like details are everything. And if we get one detail wrong, then 신뢰성이 떨어질 수 있으니까.
Yes.
Like, we want people to depend on us and we want to be reliable for the people out there. So it's all in the details. That's just my humble opinion.
I will keep that in mind.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for your
All
tips.
right, so let's get into our first local story. Busan City is bringing in some high-tech measures to stop drunk driving on buses.
Yes, Busan has introduced a biometric alcohol testing system for bus drivers, and it's set up at 53 bus depots. The system checks a driver's iris and face to verify their identity, then measures their alcohol content. The results show up on the screen as not measured, normal, or not allowed to drive.
Yes. So, and if someone is flagged as not allowed, what happens?
Then the system sends a text message to the manager to stop the driver from operating the bus.
Yes.
And they were trialing it this month, but from next month, so from October, it will be in full operation. And actually today there's going to be an on-site inspection, including a live demonstration of this system at the Yeonjae public bus garage.
Yeah, so it does sound like they're really tightening the rules as they should because drunk driving is so serious. Anything else planned?
So starting next month, it requires transportation companies to immediately report to the police if they catch any of their drivers drunk driving. If transport operators fail to comply with this improvement order,
Yes.
they will face administrative penalties, including business suspension or fines. An official said in the event of drunk driving accident, they will impose the strictest punishment with zero tolerance.
As it should be. So thank you for giving us an update on this story. All right, next up, let's talk about Busan's O시리아에 resort, which is about to see self-driving buses on the road.
Yes, Busan will be trialing self-driving electric buses in the O시리아 tourist complex in Gijang starting on the 16th, that's today, and running until the end of the year.
Yes.
The buses are going to run between O시리아 station on the Donghae line and the East Busan tourist complex from 9:45 in the morning until 5:55 in the evening on weekdays.
Yes.
And during that trial period, the fare is free.
Oh, free rides. That's definitely nice. What about the level of technology, though?
These buses are level 3, which means they can drive without driver input on highways or under certain conditions. And each bus can carry up to 15 passengers.
Yes.
All vehicles are equipped with a driver and a safety personnel to ensure the safety of passengers.
So what are the long-term plans after this trial run?
So the city will check tech stability based on the data collected during the trial and then move on to the official operation from the January next year. Back in 2022, the O시리아 tourist complex was chosen as a pilot zone for autonomous vehicles.
Yes. So hopefully this trial will go well and we'll see these up and running for the long term. Next, this is about something very unique. Pertaining to coffee, because we all know, Busan and coffee, they go hand in hand, right?
Yes, Busan City will hold Busan is Coffee Day, Busan and Coffee at Domoyeon for 2 days starting on 20th.
Yes.
The event is a cultural festival that promotes Busan as a coffee city and brings citizens together. It highlights the fact that Busan was the first city in Korea with a modern record of drinking coffee. and reinterprets that history into contemporary way.
Right. So if we go back to like folklore, at least legend has it that King Gojong was like the first Korean to try coffee. That's how the legend goes.
That's the common story, yes.
Yes.
King Gojong first tasted coffee in 1996, but there's a diary called Haeun Ilok, which shows an earlier case. That in 1884, Min Gon-ho from the Superintendent Office of Busan Port was served coffee.
Right. So we're talking about in the 1800s. That's such a long time ago. Fascinating. Well, what's happening at this festival?
There'll be latte art performance from a World Coffee Championship.
Okay.
And a rather unusual scent coffee demonstration. And even on Champions talk show.
Okay.
There will be also a special exhibition on coffee and culture along with pop-up stalls set up in Sosopon Garden. Any citizens interested in this event can take part for free.
Yes, so we're a port city, but we're also a coffee city. Next, let's talk about Busan's cultural billboard, which has been updated for fall. So what's going on?
Yes, Busan City says it will display the autumn edition of the cultural billboard on the City Hall until November.
Okay.
The chosen phrase was created by Lee Sun-gyo, and it reads, Busan dyed in 5 colors, autumn enjoyed by 5 senses. 오색으로 물든 부산, 오감으로 정든 가을.
I like that. I like it. So how was this selected?
The judging panel from the Busan Writers Association reviewed 259 entries and selected E's work as the final selection.
I see.
So starting with this edition, a young designer from Busan has designed the cultural sign.
So when is the next contest?
The winter edition contest open next month, and anyone can enter as long as the phrase is under 25 characters and captures, expressing love, hope, and warmth. And one winner gets them 500,000 won cultural gift voucher, and 6 runners-up will each get vouchers worth 50,000 won.
I see. So I love that whole idea of Busan dyed in 5 colors, autumn enjoyed by 5 senses. All right, now let's talk about this. 렛츠런파크, Busan경남 is running or actually marking a big milestone. So what is this about?
On the 19th, the park will hold a ceremony to mark its 20th anniversary. The event will celebrate the creation of Lucky Horseshoe Road, which is a commemorative space made using the horseshoes of its representative racehorses.
Wow, so horseshoe path. This is very unique. I've never heard of this. So what's the idea behind this?
Also, horseshoes are shoes for horses that protect their hooves.
Yes.
Since ancient times, the front shoes have been considered a symbol of good luck, and the back ones a symbol of warding off the bad luck.
Okay. So how are they using them, though, in this park?
They took the actual horseshoes from a famous racehorses, engraved them on a copper plate, and installed them along the trail. The trail was designed to share the lucky energy of winning horses from the past 20 years with visitors.
And speaking of the horses, which horses are featured?
10 of the 18 representative horses will have their names engraved on this bronze plate. They're based on winning performance, annual representativeness, prize money earned, and horse personal stories.
Yes.
Among them are Luna, once lame but a later champion, and Mr. Park, which holds a record for the longest winning streak.
Wow, Luna and Mr. Park. So it really does sound like a landmark worth visiting.
That's the hope. Officials say they want this path to become a new landmark for the park, giving visitors a unique experience every time they come.
Indeed. Well, thank you for going over all the local news, and we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Sajin.
Thank you.
All right, I'll be back with your traffic and weather.
Good morning.
Good morning.
굿모닝입니다.
Good morning.
좋은 아침입니다.
Morning wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
Major news, local buzz, and expert takes. It's all here on Morning Wave in Busan. Brighten up your morning commute with Morning Wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
It's now 7:18, and here's your traffic report. First up, we have an accident to report on Bunyeong역 coming into the city. There's an accident right past Suyang Tunnel. Next up, Dongso Overpass is congested from Hwangyong Ramp to the old Kaegum Tollgate. And it's backed up on Gwanmun-daero from Chwacheon Overpass to Pier number 5 right now. It's also busy on Luno-Samsung-daero from Myeongji Underpass to Shinho Bridge. It's looking slow from Manduk intersection to the Name Expressway Deokjeon ramp. Currently, it is 24 degrees Celsius under partially sunny skies here in Busan. Real field temperature, though, it feels like 27. The daytime high will go up to 32 degrees today with showers forecast right around lunchtime. Across the nation, cloudy with showers across most of the country. Some areas expected to see heavy rain of up to 30 millimeters per hour. This was your traffic and weather. It's time for Top Stories. We have Haley in the studio. Let's say hi first. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Well, we want to know all your tips, your know-how. Do you ever get in trouble at home or at work?
Oh, home all the time.
For what?
Being gross, mostly. Hair shedding, being shameless about, I don't know, just gross.
But shedding hair, that's just a natural part of life, is it
I
not?
shed like a dog.
Oh, there's a lot of hair to be
there's
shed.
a lot, and I have long hair, and it's really dark. But thankfully, my sister, who used to just maintain her short hair, she recently grew her hair out long. Like she's about your length, a little shorter. So I can at least say, like,
pretend that it's her.
Anyone's.
True.
It's a horrible, terrible person. But at work, I've been like awfully late once. Well, I went on a trip to Thailand, and then I came back. It wasn't here. It was at my other job. I came back via like the 6 a.m. flight, and the workplace was like, can you, it seems like you're cutting it really close. And I was like, oh, it's going to be fine. It wasn't, because, morning time traffic is not fine. So, of course, I was late, and they're like, the boss was like, can we meet? Can we have a little meeting during lunchtime? I'm like, yeah. So I went in early, and as soon as she walked in, I got up and I was like, I'm so sorry. This was completely on me. No excuses. Should have known better. Won't ever happen again. Get ahead of it. Own up to it. Get ahead of it. Because when you say, like, I'm so sorry, 100% my fault, 1,000% my fault, what's she going to say? She's not going to say, well, it's 1,001% your fault. She was like, yeah, you've never been late before. Just let's make sure it doesn't happen again. And we just kind of,
So, key is preemptive strike.
Yeah.
미리.
Just get ahead of it.
Yes. Like it. That's a good tip. And our producer agrees. 차라리 저게 나아요.
Right?
변명하지 마세요. 라고 하네요. The little birdie in our studio right now. Well, we're going to get to our first top story. Some local governments, including Busan City, are facing accusations of having allegedly cooperated with former President Yoon Suk-yeol's martial law declaration.
Right, so this is a hot button issue politically. The Democratic Party, or the DP, has raised allegations that some municipal governments, including Seoul and Busan, shut down their city hall buildings and other government buildings early on December 3rd of last year. Of course, the night that former President Yoon declared martial law. And the DP's position was that this was to allegedly cooperate with Yoon's martial law imposition. So they secured a statement from then Chief of Government Policy Coordination, who assisted former Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, who stated that he ordered for government agencies and local governments to shut their doors. So following this, the Ministry of Interior and Safety, they've launched a truth-finding investigation into Busan and Seoul specifically.
I see.
So according to the timeline reported from last year, Seoul City told its district and and public corporations to shut down their doors and restrict entry at 8 minutes past midnight on December 3rd. Busan City apparently did so at 11:20 p.m. on December 3rd. So the Interior Ministry's order was to shut down government buildings, and that came down closer to 1 a.m. on December 4th. So the argument is Seoul City, it came about almost an hour earlier than the Interior Ministry order, Busan City an hour and then some. So the legal interpretation that's been raised by some is that this voluntary shutdown could be construed as the city's allegedly participating in martial law declaration.
So what have these cities said about this matter?
Right, so mayors Oseon and Park Hyung-jun are strongly denying these allegations. So Busan City said that an employee on duty received a call from the Interior Ministry at 11:15 p.m. on the 3rd.
Okay.
And only closed the shutters to the underground entrance and only at that place at 11:20 p.m. And that Mayor Park Hyung-jun arrived at the City Hall around 11:40 to 11:50 p.m. on the night of the 3rd with reporters, and he actually ordered for the unnecessary restrictions like restricting entry of reporters to be lifted.
Okay.
And Mayor Park said that these claims of martial law collusion are political, aimed at defaming not only the honor of the city but also its people.
I see. So this, of course, involving two major cities and said mayors. So hence why we're talking about this story. But let's move on for now. The government has gone back on its previous position on lowering the threshold for the capital gains tax.
Right. So the threshold for capital gains tax in Korean, that's 양도세 대주주 기준, will stay put. So a bit of background. In July of this year, the Ministry of Economy and Finance proposed lowering this threshold on which the government imposes capital gains taxes on stock holdings from the current 5 billion won threshold to 1 billion won. This is actually undoing the former Yoon Suk-yeol government's policy of easing this threshold, which was previously at 1 billion back during the previous administration that was raised to 5 billion won.
Yes.
But then there was criticism that it basically acted as a tax cut for the rich.
Right.
However, the Lee Jae-myung administration's plans to lower the threshold, that incited concerns among financial circles that it could actually dampen investor sentiment.
Okay.
So since then, the government has shown signs of withdrawing the position, including during President Lee Jae-myung's 100th day anniversary press conference last week. He said that there was no need to insist on the proposal if it ends up hurting investor sentiment. So during a ruling party government meeting at the National Assembly yesterday, and they were issuing some Chuseok livelihood issues, Finance Minister Koo Yoon-chul said that the government will maintain the current threshold of 5 billion won in consideration of the public's zealousness for activating the market and the Democratic Party's position of maintaining shareholder criteria.
I see. So it looks like, that once again, the government is backing down from its previous position. All right. Up next, what issues are creeping up on us? Grocery prices are on everyone's mind. But let's look at the bigger picture of why South Korea's produce prices are, number one, expensive, and number two, fluctuate so much.
Right. So it's a twofold issue.
Yes.
So inflation or price fluctuations of agricultural products in South Korea, these are more prominent in South Korea compared to other developed countries with similar economies of its size.
Yes.
So according to the Bank of Korea report, the consumer price for agricultural and fisheries products, 농축산물, for August, that went up by 4.8% compared to the year before. And overall, it was responsible for adding 0.37 points to overall inflation or price increases.
Okay.
And then President Lee Jae-myung during a cabinet meeting recently said that South Korea's food and grocery prices are on average about 50% higher than the OECD average. And he called for measures to ease these, what he called price anxieties.
So the big question is, why is that?
Right. So our economy may be on par with other developed countries, but it's the landmass, the size of the land. This is the reason that South Korea's agricultural prices fluctuate so much. So then the smaller landmass, 토지, that leads to lower production of fruits and vegetables. There just isn't enough land. And then higher logistical costs are built into this distribution or logistical costs, basically middleman prices built in. Add to that climate change. Rain, wildfires, flooding, pests, and that leads to plummeting of production output.
Yes.
So Statistics Korea also says that 74% of farms in South Korea are under 1 hectare. So these are smaller to mid-sized farms.
Okay.
So they are definitely more vulnerable to these changes.
Okay, so understandable. Is there anything that could be done about this, though?
So experts call for expanding farming research and development, R&D, technology, and increasing mechanical investment. So there's also the structural issue of larger wholesale corporations running the market as middlemen, and they apparently take 60 to 70% of the profit, whereas farms themselves only get then 30 to 40% of the retail prices.
I see.
So wholesale corporations also take 7% commission for running the auction. So the middleman prices are very steep.
Yes.
So pretty much though, all of the produce, basically even if it gets produced in, let's say, Daejeon tomatoes are not directly distributed into Busan market. They all travel up to Seoul. And then they get auctioned off and come back to Busan, which is highly inefficient, and also that builds into the cost as well, increasing the burden on either end, producers and consumers. So to that end, the government announced ways to reduce the distribution costs by 10% by the year 2030. So that'll include expanding online wholesalers to cover half the total trade volume. Right now, online trade only sits at 6%. The government's going to encourage competition as well and have an evaluation committee with consumers as part of the panel.
I see. So hopefully, they'll get a better control on the prices and less fluctuations. Well, this isn't good news either. I mean, I wish we had some good news. The country has reported a case of African swine fever.
Right. So the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters yesterday issued a severe alert for African swine fever nationwide. So this comes after an African swine fever case was confirmed out of a pig farm in Yeoncheon County in Gyeonggi Province. This, by the way, is the first case in 2 months following a case from Paju back in July.
Yes.
And this marks the 5th confirmation for the entire year. So the central authorities, after the confirmation, they culled 847 pigs at the farm. They've quarantined the farm and issued a temporary movement ban of workers and vehicles in Yeoncheon, as well as 5 cities and counties surrounding that county. The authorities said, though, the number of pigs that were culled, they only account for under 0.01% of the total output, so it shouldn't have a big impact on the pork supply or prices.
Yes.
But all 5 African swine fever cases this year were in northern Gyeonggi. So the Vice Minister of Agriculture directed the province to allocate all of its available resources to block outbreak of additional cases.
Indeed, because we don't need the price of pork to go up either.
And again, we're right around Chuseok period.
All right. The 2025 fall semester Garaki has started here in South Korea and also in the United States, but there are many international students who have not been able to enter the country amid Trump's immigration policies.
Right. So this comes after President Donald Trump in June issued travel bans on 19 countries, including Afghanistan, Myanmar, Iran, Yemen, Chad, and others. This also prevents students with visas from coming into the United States.
Yes.
So last year, the State Department issued over 5,700 F1 and J1 visas. These are for undergrad and graduate students and researchers to people in these 19 countries that are now affected by the ban. So citizens of Iran and Myanmar, they accounted for over half of the approved visas.
Yes.
AP and other foreign press outlets, they reported on this case and interviewed several students from who are basically stuck from countries like Afghanistan and Myanmar.
Right.
For instance, I'm bringing one, this young woman, 21 years old, Bahara Sagari in Afghanistan. When Taliban banned college education for women in the country, she set off to study in the U.S. and she studied English for up to 8 hours per day, eventually won an offer to study at a private college in Illinois. However, because of the travel ban, she cannot come. So these students are now in kind of a limbo. Some have asked for deferred admissions and have received it. Others have not.
Yes.
So for others, they're applying to other European colleges. But again, this requires additional exams, applications, time, and money, which some of these students do not have.
Right. Well, that's the situation. Well, thank you for all the top stories. And of course, we'll check in with you in hour number 2. So thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
All right. Wavers, we're ready for our first song for today. Yesterday Once More by the Carpenters.
When I was young, I'd listen to the radio, waiting for my favorite songs. When they played, I'd sing along. It made me smile. Those were such happy times, and not so long ago. How I wondered where they'd gone. But they're back again, just like a long-lost friend. All the songs I love so well. Every sha-la-la-la, every whoa-whoa still shines. Every shing-a-ling-a-ling that they're starting to sing so fine. When they get to the part where he's breaking her heart, it can really make me cry, just like before. It's yesterday once more. Looking back on how it was in years gone by, and the good times that I had, makes today seem rather sad. So much has changed. It was songs of love that I would sing to them, and I'd memorize each word. Those old melodies still sound so good to me as they melt the years away. Every sha-la-la-la, every whoa-whoa still shines. All the oldies but goodies. Every shing-a-ling-a-ling that they're starting to sing so fine. All my best memories come back clearly to me. Some can even make me cry, just like before. It's yesterday once more. Every sha-la-la-la, every whoa-whoa still shines. Every shing-a-ling-a-ling that they're starting to sing so fine. Every sha-la-la-la, every whoa-whoa still shines.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's get to some of your responses to our text topic today. Today's topic is this: when you do something wrong and you know it, whether it's at home or at work, how do you overcome it? How do you deal with it? And any tips on not getting into trouble? So looking at some of your responses, we have Wendy, who hasn't joined us in a while, saying, good morning. 오늘의 질문에 대해 나의 생각은 잘못했을 때 저는 바로 꼬리 내리고 솔직하게 인정하는 편입니다. So she writes that if in a situation like this, she's the type where she immediately, if she realizes that she has made an error or kind of like a mistake, that she acknowledges it pretty quickly. And that's how she deals with that. Let's see, who else? William, who says, when something goes wrong, I try to determine what action made things go sideways and try not to repeat the same action again, sometimes with difficulty. So he says, don't dwell on the action and go forward. So I kind of like that too. In terms of kind of pinpointing what exactly might have gone wrong, because oftentimes people might be kind of concentrating on, oh my gosh, I did something wrong, I messed up, and not focusing on what it is that went wrong and maybe fixing it and not letting it happen again. So I like that line of thought, William. So thank you for that response. All right. Umberto, excuse me, says, by addressing the issue, communicating my mistake to the affected parties, and then providing a plan on how I am resolving the issue. Ooh, that's also smart. Not only saying, hey, there's a mistake, but this is how I'm going to resolve it. And that will definitely assuage your superior, I think. So thank you for all your text messages. I'll read more when I get a chance. Let's get to Wave Sports. It's time for Wave Sports. We have Andrew here.
What's going on?
So not on cue together. But how are you?
So not on cue to be on cue to not be on cue.
Yes, exactly.
You got that?
Yeah.
I didn't make a
got
mistake. I'm just rolling with it.
Of course, because we roll like that.
Yeah, I know all these people saying, well, I do this and I do that. And I'm like,
what do you do?
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Yeah, forget about it. No, I don't. I mean, it's...
What do you do? What if your superior is like not so thrilled with you? You made a boo-boo.
I have superiors?
Do you?
Well, my wife? No, it depends on what it is. I think also the severity of it.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
true.
But I feel sometimes things are like a mountain's made out of a molehill sometimes, but it also depends on who's made that molehill.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean? So
because if you've made many a molehills, that adds up to a mountain.
I would agree with you on that one for sure. So
yes.
I don't know, I just think there's some good advice from the listeners there as well as that, to deal with it as soon as possible. Because I feel if you let it fester, it might turn into something bigger.
Right.
Or if something has gone wrong and it's affected a relationship with somebody, that's probably going to make things difficult for the rest of if you work in an office.
Yes.
It's not really good.
Oh, the mood, the environment, the ambiance. Ooh.
The drama. The drama.
We don't want that. All right, let's jump into some sports. What do you have for us?
I love a bit of drama. I don't know about you. So we have a KBO update. Now, we didn't talk about this last week because we were pretty jammed full of stuff. And the reason I didn't talk about it last week was just hoping that, one of those things, if you don't talk about it, maybe it might turn around on its own.
Like we might have some good news this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible news, but it's it could be worse. That's a way to look at it.
Okay.
But so just quickly here through the league. So the 2025 KBO League continues to heat up as the regular season winds down. Without a doubt here, everyone knows the LG Twins lead the pack with a strong record, followed by the Hanwha Eagles, who are, I would say they're kind of making a late push to, challenge for that top spot. And then also, the way it works in the playoffs is that if you finish first, you go all the way to the ship.
Yeah.
To the finals. Yeah, which is kind of amazing for anybody who's outside of Korea who's not aware of it. Like, what? What do you mean? One doesn't play 8 or anything like that? No.
You get a free pass.
You get a free pass.
Yes.
It's just pass go and they get the $200 as well. So and then it is the SSG Landers in third. All for, they're all fighting, as I said, for those positions. But teams like the TUES and the Samsung Lions are still jockeying for playoff spots and, every game carrying weight. You notice that I didn't mention the Lotte Giants in that little blurb.
And which is so sad because every morning, the waivers, after they say hello to each other and to me and whatnot, it's always conversation about the Lotte Giants.
I know, and when I tune in, I see it. I don't always comment in the chat, but I do see it in the chat.
You see it, right?
Yeah, and it's, it honestly, I don't want to say it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. You're breaking my heart.
We're
out
smiling,
there,
but we're not. We're crying inside.
But, turning to the 6th place team, the Lotte Giants, it's not like they're out of it by any means. All right. They're at a 64-6 draws. So they're at they're spot on a 500 season right now, which, to be 100% honest, at the start of the season, if you said to me, it's middle of September, Lotte are 500, I would have been like, it's been a good season. I would have taken that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because as well, I would have known they're still in the mix.
But they gave us such hope in the beginning. That's the problem.
But then if you would have told me, oh yeah, but that 500 record comes with a 13-game losing streak in August, then I would be upset, like most of our waivers are. So I'm feeling you, everyone out there, for sure. So the Giants have shown flashes of life lately. They'll win, they'll lose, they'll win, lose. You know, it's not like, 10 in a row or anything.
Yes.
There is some offensive spark that's been happening at Sagic, but it's also that the games right now, it's a bit different because of the season, where we're at in the season. I'll get to that in a moment. But if they want to break into that top 5 to get into the postseason for some of that, fall ball, if you will.
Yes. 가을야구, we want it.
Exactly. They got to put some wins together.
Yeah. So what's on deck for the Giants this week?
Yeah, so the league's schedule is just 14 calendar days left.
Okay.
Unless there's some more rainouts and things like that. So it's scheduled to finish at the last day of September. All right, so we're right around there, okay? So there's a lot of makeup games, which means the schedule is all over the place.
Okay, it's going to be crazy.
We're not getting that usual 3-3-3.
Sure.
It's a little bit of a mess, if you will. So the Giants are in Daegu for the next 2 nights to take on the Lions. Then they have a day off. Then there's these 2 games pretty much could make or break their season because Samsung's in 5th.
Yes.
So if they get those 2 wins, it would put automatically ahead of them.
Okay.
And they're in that 5th spot.
Okay.
And then it's, they control their destiny, not waiting for other teams to lose kind of thing, right? After that, Friday night, they go to Changwon and another team fighting for that. They're in 7th, but they're not out of it. So from 7th to 4th, it's a massive mix here. And then they return home on Saturday against Sagic to take on the Kiom Heroes. Yeah.
So
every game is a must win.
So important.
Yes.
And there are some comments on the board, but I can't read. PD님이 읽지 말래요. I still want to read that one, but okay.
It's one of those things that you're like, stay classy, San Diego.
Yeah. I want to read, but she's like, don't, because we don't want to.
For all our listeners, you'll probably understand what we're talking about there now, for sure.
네. Well, we still have our fingers crossed.
Yes.
Knocking on wood.
It's still possible. I think if, everyone puts that positive vibe together, maybe it'll help them. Sagic isn't slowing down. That place has been an absolute animal house the entire season, and I hope it continues that to the very last game, whether it is in the postseason or not.
Yes. Well, I can read this message from William.
Okay.
He says, our San Francisco Giants are cosmically linked to the Lotte Giants. Our seasons are mirroring each other. So William says, so are you having a good season, William? Or are you not? What are you trying to say?
I don't know. Any other Giants around what about the New York Giants in football? I don't know. I'm not a big NFL fan, so.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So let's move on. Where are we headed?
We're headed to the Premier League, and we're going to start off with a clip.
Okay.
Oh, Haaland's onside. 2. Now Haaland, and he's come from his own half. Chance to make it 3. Chance to make it save.
Pong. Well, they're appealing for handball. It's a penalty to Liverpool. The ball is handed to Mohamed Salah. He's done it so many times before, and he's done it once again at Turf Moor.
I don't want to anger Man U fans.
I don't think it's you can at this point. They're already
what did
furious.
I say off air? I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
It is Manchester United. What's going on?
Yeah, so 2 games there. We just heard it was the Man City and Man U game, and then also the Liverpool-Burnley. So some big results and also some big drama, if you will. So Manchester City roared back with authority in the Manchester Derby, thumping arch rivals Manchester United 3-0 at the Etihad. Now, when I say roared back, because City had lost 2 on the bounce, and a lot of people were like, crisis mode. But the crisis mode is Man United. Their manager has come out, Ruben Amorim has come out and said, listen, I'm not changing how I play. This is how it is. If they want to change, they're going to have to change the man, meaning him.
Is it time?
Yeah. But the way I see it is that I don't know who's going to get a tune out of these players. And that's the issue right now.
Right.
Where you look on the other side in London and say, for example, Thomas Frank with Spurs. he's been there for less time.
Yes.
And arguably maybe some less talented players at the moment as well. And Spurs fans, please don't come after me. But he's doing a phenomenal job.
Right.
You know how they
It's a
play.
compliment.
They have a
Yes.
style. But it's
They're
just,
not being Spursy.
there you go, exactly.
Yes.
So as we heard in the clip, that was Erling Haaland putting 2 in the back of the net. Also, Phil Foden chipped in with a header at the beginning of the game. Over with Arsenal against Nottingham Forest.
Yes.
It was, and we thought this one was kind of interesting because Ange Postecoglou comes into Nottingham Forest.
I know.
But he's going to play a different style than he played before. No, he's not. They lose 3-0. Then takes us to some late drama in the Premier League where I stayed up on Sunday night to watch this game. Actually, it wasn't that late. It started at 10. And it was probably one of the worst Liverpool games I've ever watched. But I mean, they ended up winning, but it was handball in, as we heard in the clip, I think it was the 89th minute or 91st minute. I actually do feel bad for Hannibal, the player from Burnley, because it was just awful. And then Mo Salah puts it in the back of the net. And then over in Chelsea against Brentford, it looked like Chelsea had another 3 points. The 94th minute, Fabio Carvalho puts in a goal to make it 2-2. So lots of drama, but it's nice to see that. I enjoy the drama, especially if Liverpool win.
Yes,
Go
of
Reds.
course. That's the Premier League.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about, I mean, have we ever really talked about MLS? Not much. I'm just being honest.
If you're an MLS fan and, you know, you're angry because, hey, you never talked about it before, and now you're talking about it so much. When Messi first went there, we talked a ton about it.
We did.
You know, when Steven Gerrard went there, when other players went there, we talked about it as well. I'm not saying this is going to wear off, but we're still going to talk about LAFC. You kind of have to. All right. So LAFC kicked off in explosive fashion with Son Heung-min scoring in the first minute. I believe it was less than 60 seconds.
It was in the 54th second. How do
amazing.
I know? Because I was watching.
Oh, okay. There you go. I always love watching the extended highlights because then you get some interviews and stuff like that. And I love seeing the fan reactions as well because they're just all over the place. It's so amazing to watch. But then it was also, Boanga also, you know, stole the show, bagging a hat trick. And Sonny also had an assist on one of his goals, making it, you know, 4-2 over San Jose, which, you know, this is, I don't know if they expected this kind of uplift. I mean, the team wasn't doing bad prior to this, but they didn't have this energy.
Oh, no. There was no aura.
It's unquestionable right now. So Sun's goal was only his second since joining the club, but coming so early in the match, it was a statement. And when a goal gets scored like that, some people think, all right, you can just roll on, but it's not only the team that's losing that has to change it. You have to change your mindset, as, you know, LAFC probably did as well, but they just said, let's just power on.
Yes.
You know, and it seems like they're, you know, I don't want to say there's no stopping them, but when you have that sense of we're going to win, it's going to keep going.
The energy is just different.
Yeah.
From what they say,
Well, one more story. I know we have something on the list here, but I was looking at this and I saw it this morning. I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Out of all the athletes I've ever talked about on this program, who is our number one guy, a Korean athlete?
Korean athletes besides Son Heung-min?
Yeah, besides Son Heung-min. Who's our number one guy that whenever we talk about him, we have a big smile on our face and we get super excited?
Oh, this is a tough
You might
one.
not remember the name, but maybe the sport.
The high jump?
Yes.
Oh, I
nailed it.
guessed
Yes.
it.
Very
it
good.
wasn't on the script. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not on the script.
Okay.
So Woo Sung-hyuk.
Yes.
Woo Sung-hyuk, always the biggest
one
smile in the
snapping
world.
on his thighs.
There you go.
Yes,
There you
yes.
go. Oh,
Okay.
that
I got
actually,
it.
I'm so excited that you actually did that. And I'm looking at my phone right now, people, because I want to actually get the time right on this.
Okay.
So the World Athletics are happening in Tokyo at the moment, right? So the finals for the high jump kick off tonight. So they already did the preliminaries or the qualifiers, if you will. And he is the first in the order of 13. Now, I'm not really sure if that goes by their jump order from the qualifier, because I'm sure he probably had one of the better scores.
Right.
He made it in there with no problem. But that is tonight at 8:30, around 8:30.
Okay.
So I'm sure to be on any of the sports channels on TV or whatever service you use to stream. So yeah, it's when I saw that, I was going through some headlines and I was like, I got a test cat on her trivia
How'd I
here.
do?
Fantastic.
Okay.
I think as soon as I said the sport, and you were like, it's not Sunday, not football. Oh,
Okay, so I was like,
get
my
it.
mind was racing, to be honest.
High jump
Okay.
came to mind. It was fantastic.
Yes, yes.
So, great.
Yes. One real quick, boxing champion.
Yeah, we
passed
do have
away.
to give a little bit of a message out here. Ricky
Yes.
Hatton, the man affectionately known as a hitman, has passed away at the age of 46. Now, this is a reminder to people that, the sport, no pun intended here, but does hit hard and leaves people.
46 is young.
Exactly. So Hatton's passing, or authorities say the death is not being treated as suspicious.
Okay.
All right. So it sends shockwaves through the sport and beyond with fans. And it's been like since this happened over the weekend, there's just so many people coming out who had fought him or commentated on his fights and talking about how great of a man he was, but also how hard of a fighter he was as well and how hard he hit. Obviously, as in the name, the Hitman. All right. So, obviously our thoughts and feelings go out to him and his family and his loved ones. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you for going over all the exciting sports news. Of course, once again, hoping and praying for 가을 야구. That's what we're hoping for,
Andrew
right?
Sangyak,
Yes.
jump over that bar.
Tonight. Well, we'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Andrew.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. This was Wave Sports, and we have a song request from Layla that we're going to play right now. This is 꿈의 Bus by Day 6. I'll be back at 8.
몇 번의 알람의 기상 시간 보니 비상 내 달렸던 버스에 난 구겨진다 긴 엔진의 소리 숨 막히는 공기 내려도 비워지지가 않아 이를 악물고 발버둥 쳐봐도 꿈쩍하지 않는 이 세상 위에서 저 혹시 꿈을 찾고 있나요 아니면 찾고 있나요 난 계속 꿈을 꿔요 지금 꼭 움켜잡고 있는 이 버스 손잡이처럼 흔들려도 비틀대도 꿈을 놓지 않을 거야 어찌저찌 버텼다는 안도감만으로 집 갈 버스에 올라 난 구겨진다 멋진 차와 나란히 출발해도 더 멀어지기만 하는 이 도로 위에서 저 혹시 꿈을 찾고 있나요 아니면 찾고 있나요 난 계속 꿈을 꿔요 지금 꼭 움켜잡고 있는 이 버스 손잡이처럼 흔들려도 비틀대도 꿈을 놓지 않을 거야 I never wanna let go I never ever let go 아무리 힘들어도 dream on 저 혹시 꿈을 찾고 있나요 아니면 찾고 있나요 난 계속 꿈을 꿔요 지금 꼭 움켜잡고 있는 이 버스 손잡이처럼
Your bridge to the world. BEFM 부산 영어방송.
기업체 사장님들 아직도 직영으로 식당 운영하고 계십니까? 위탁급식과 도시락 전문 기업 더 좋은 푸드에 맡겨보십시오. 운영비 절감 효과 확실합니다. 식대는 협의 후 맞춰드립니다. 지역 부산 경남 문의 전화 051-784-0877
랜드로버의 모든 것이 한 곳에 전시장과 서비스 센터가 만나 랜드로버 부산 센텀 컴플렉스 센터로 더 새로워졌습니다. 신차 상담에서 애프터 서비스까지 원스톱 서비스를 만나다 랜드로버 공식 리테일러 HS 효성 프리미어 모터스.
출근길 아이 걱정을 내려놓을 수 있다는 것 그건
Hi, Professor. How are you?
모든은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
Welcome to Busan. Let me show you around. Here you can find the world's largest musical in-ground fountain and the world's only UN memorial cemetery. Stroll along the coast and explore the largest mountain fortress in Korea. As well as all this, there are so many tourist attractions, beautiful exhibitions, vibrant culture, convenient facilities, and delicious foods unique to Busan. With all the beauty and charm of the amazing city of Busan, you'll find yourself right at home in this ever-changing tourism paradise. So stay with us a while. Busan, your #1 tourist destination. Your home, away from home. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM, Busan 영어 방송.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
It is now 8 o'clock. This is hour number 2 of Morning Wave in Busan, and this is Spotlight News. President orders for independent probe into Coast Guard officer's death. President Lee Jae-myung has ordered for a thorough investigation into the death of Coast Guard officer Lee Jae-seok following the accusations of an attempted cover-up by senior officials. Fellow Coast Guard officers held a press conference yesterday and said that they were ordered to stay silent on the incident because the head of their superiors wanted to make the late officer a hero. The officers claimed that the rescue was delayed because their unit leader did not respond quickly to the incident. Following the allegations, the Commissioner General of the Coast Guard, Kim Yong-jin, resigned, saying he hopes his resignation will aid in the investigation. Parties clash over claims that Supreme Court Chief Justice should resign. Major lawmakers from the Democratic Party, or DP, have publicly said that Supreme Court Chief Justice José should resign, casting doubt on his political neutrality, the top court's handling of the president's election law violation trial. The presidential spokesperson said that the top office does not have a specific position, but they agree in principle to look back on the reasons for such public demands under the authority of an elected officer. The Supreme Court has not issued a statement. The opposition, People Power Party, or PPP, claimed that the presidential office is in line with the DP's position, and such agreement in destroying separation of powers is a clear cause for impeachment. U.S. to apply 15% auto tariff on Japan, 25% for Korean cars. The Trump administration said it will start implementing a lower tariff of 15% to Japanese cars starting Tuesday local time, following the two countries' bilateral trade deal and a government notice posted on the Federal Register. South Korean cars, however, are still subject to a sectoral tariff of 25%. Seoul and Washington have agreed to lower the auto tariff to 15%, but negotiations are still ongoing. South Korea's top trade negotiator, Yo Han-gu, said that the country is trying its best to have the 15% tariff implemented as soon as possible, but that he will not be swayed by this news about Japan, as this is part of the negotiations. Companies with repeated fatal industrial accidents to face heavy punishment. Companies that have seen repeated fatal industrial accidents will face fines of up to 5% of their operating profit, as well as their licenses revoked under the government's new measures. The Ministry of Employment and Labor announced its comprehensive measures on labor safety. aiming to lower the country's high industrial fatality rate to the OECD average by 2030. Under the revised law, the Labor Ministry will have the right to request relevant agencies to revoke the license for companies with repeated serious industrial accidents and extend the business suspension period for companies with repeated fatalities. Trump expresses confidence in trade talks with China. U.S. President Donald Trump said that his administration's trade talks with China that took place in Spain have gone very well, with a conclusion to be reached soon. Trump hinted that he will speak to Chinese President Xi Jinping on Friday. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that a framework deal was reached with China on the ownership of TikTok's American operators as a shutdown deadline looms for the social media platform unless it finds a new American buyer. China's top trade negotiator said the two sides had constructive communications, but that his country would not reach a deal at the expense of its own principles and Chinese companies' interests. And this was Spotlight News. It's time for Wagga Wagga. Haley's back in the studio with us.
Hello again.
Yes, welcome, welcome. First, we got to talk about the controversies surrounding the death of this Coast Guard officer.
Right. So controversies are growing following the death of Officer Lee Jae-seok, who responded to a rescue call following a Chinese national in his 70s who got stuck at a mud flat.
Yes.
During the course of the rescue, we know from drone footage that Lee gave up his boy or life jacket to this elderly man, and they were trying to get out of the mud flat when water just basically rushed in to waist level, and he basically was washed out offshore.
Yes.
And was found later in the day.
Right.
So yesterday, funeral proceedings are ongoing, but yesterday, 4 of his fellow officers, excuse me, who were on duty with him the day of the accident, held a press conference, making some shocking revelations or accusations, saying that the head of Yongheung Police apparently ordered them to stay silent on the issue because, quote, they needed to make the deceased officer into a hero. And that the top officer allegedly told these officers that when they see or meet the families of the deceased officer during the funeral, quote, just shed tears and don't say anything. The first orders came apparently when Lee was on his way to the emergency room. The 4 officers argued that they were pulled aside and were told this and claimed that the order came from the chief of Incheon Coast Guard.
I see. Well, the officers also made claims about what was unfolding on their end while Lee was struggling out at sea.
Right. So if true, these raise some serious questions into what was happening. A series of violations allegedly took place, including violation of the rule that officers must respond to calls and especially rescue missions in pairs.
Yes.
So at early morning at the day of the accident, there were 6 officers on duty total, including these 4 who gave the press conference, plus E and the team leader.
Yes.
But the 4 officers say that they were ordered to go on a 6-hour break from 9 p.m. on Wednesday the 10th to 3 a.m. the following day. Here's the thing. Officers under the Coast Guard manual are only allowed to go on breaks during nighttime up to 3 hours. This was double, and this was told to them by the team leader.
Okay.
And it's customary that the breaks don't overlap. So they'll take breaks in pairs, but they wouldn't put 4 on such a long break. So this then only left E, the deceased officer, and the team leader on duty. E responded to the call alone at 2:07 a.m. while the other officers were sleeping. So even as E was struggling for his life, and they know this via the drone footage, the team leader didn't wake up the rest of the officers. And it was actually the drone company, the company that's in charge of monitoring and drone surveillance, that was patrolling the area that called the Coast Guard and alerted them of the situation.
I just don't get it. I don't.
So many questions left to linger. We will, of course, have to keep you updated.
All right. For now, we're going to move on. Here is is an interesting court case about a wrongful termination suit and persistent tardiness. Persistent meaning over and over again.
Yeah, so I'm getting a lot of responses about our text topic, but the core theme seems to be apologize, don't make excuses, and really just get ahead of it.
Okay.
Well, here's a classic case of what not to do.
Okay.
So legal office hired a new employee in October of 2023. And for 3 months, it was like the 수습기간, kind of the probationary period, the typical 9 to 6 shift.
Yes.
This new employee on the first day was 9 minutes late. Okay, maybe they got lost as like the representative. I have zero directions. I mean, I do leave half an hour early on first days, but
first day,
fine. Oh no. Second, reserve your judgment for day 2 because he was an hour and 47 minutes late.
And almost 2 hours late?
Almost 2 hours late. Day 3 seems to have gone okay. Fourth day, 15 minutes late. 2 days after that, he came in to work at 1 p.m.
What?
Again, 9 to 6 shift. I don't even know. So when the boss told him to do something, he wrote back, and there is a messenger log of this. I've never done it before, so I don't know how. Shouldn't we share the work? By the way, he's talking to his boss. Shouldn't he share the work? What are you, referring to the boss, doing right now?
설마 지금 뭐 하세요?
뭐 하세요? 지금 뭐 하신대요? 같이 해야 되는 거 아닌가요? Which is, I mean, yeah. So on the day that he came into work at 1 p.m., the head of the firm sent him a notice via text message. It doesn't seem like you're a good fit.
Right.
Yeah. And then the office also sent him a written notice about a month later. This employee, or I guess former employee, filed a wrongful termination suit.
Oh.
Yeah, claiming that the boss verbally assaulted him, workplace harassment, and asked for 15 million won, 1,500만 won in wages that he would have made in the 3-month contract period had he not been let go, plus 35 million won in compensations instead of being hired back.
Oh, so we need the court decision on this because people are waggling like, 해고 가능한 거 아닌가요? Asked one listener. So let's find out. What did the court say?
Yeah, to answer our listener's question, 해고 가능한 거 아닌가? Isn't that grounds for dismissal? Of course it is. And that was the court's ruling.
Yes.
Yes. So Seoul Central District Court announced last week that it has ruled against the plaintiff, 원고 패소, basically sided with the company. The court saw that his wrongful termination suit actually didn't hold any legal grounds because the termination was not wrongful. Therefore, struck down the request for compensations. Also, the employee was in his probation period, 수습기간, and legally, the Supreme Court, and this is like the larger scope issue here, sees reasonable cause for dismissal in a broader view during the probation period because the company and the worker, they're trying to see if they are a good fit for each other. The court also confirmed that the plaintiff's repeated tardiness and messages that he sent, what are you doing, shows that he did not conduct himself in a way that shows that he was equipped for the job.
So the court says it just isn't so. So we're going to move on and talk about our next story. And this is about Pope Leo, who has expressed concerns over Elon Musk's prospects of becoming the world's first trillionaire.
Right. So the Pope and Elon Musk, two people that I didn't think I would use in the same story, but here we are. So Pope Leo, the head of the Catholic Church, he said that he is concerned about the world forgetting, quote, the value of human life, of the family, and the value of society.
Okay.
So Pope Leo, unlike his predecessor, Pope Francis, he hasn't been very public in terms of statements or interviews.
Yes.
So he has just given his very first interview since becoming Pope. So he was addressing this ever-widening wealth gap between the rich and the poor. He said that, for example, CEOs 60 years ago might have made 4 to 6 times what the workers are receiving, but from last figures that he saw, now that gap is at 600 times. The Pope then named Elon Musk, said that he heard Musk is going to be the world's first trillionaire, and asked, what does that mean?
Okay.
If that is the thing, that money is the thing that only values anymore, then the world is in big trouble. By the way, this comes as Tesla's board of directors approved a $1 trillion compensation plan for its CEO that would have given him the money across 12 phases by the year 2035. The Pope also spoke out about the United Nations and how it seems to have have lost its ability to bring people together on multilateral issues.
Right. And just wrapping your mind around the 1 trillion figure, yes, the world we live in. Well, while we're on the topic of Elon Musk, this billionaire has been politically vocal once again.
Right. So he seems to be inserting himself into global politics, specifically in the UK. He, of course, famously headed Doge and was a big proponent of Trump in the U.S. elections.
Yes.
Now that focuses on the United Kingdom. So there was a huge far-right anti-immigration demonstration in London on Saturday local time. Musk was one of the speakers joining virtually. He said that the UK needs revolutionary government change, except the UK is about 4 years away from its next general election. So this was in a Q&A with a far-right political activist who was hosting the event. Musk said, quote, there needs to be massive government reforms in Britain and the people need to be in charge, not some bureaucracy that doesn't care. Actually, this isn't the first time he's made comments about British politics. Last summer, for example, there was a wave of violent anti-immigration riots in Britain, and Musk said that civil war is inevitable. He told, now coming to this year, he told the crowd that violence is coming to you. You either fight back or you die. So that's what he said.
Okay.
Here's the thing. He's not just some guy. He's, number one, the richest guy in the world and CEO of Tesla. So this has Tesla investors on edge because, again, going back to last year when he was very much active in European politics, there was a boycott in the beginning of the year. There was a boycott of Tesla products across Europe and sent its stocks tumbling.
Yes.
And by the way, as of July this year, Tesla has seen 7 consecutive months of declining sales in Europe. Of course, that could be for multitudes of reasons.
Yes.
But some are saying that this, is not insignificant.
Right. It could definitely be a factor. So thanks for going over all the Woggly news. And of course, we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great day.
All right, everybody. It's time for your updated traffic and weather. It's now 8:15. Here's your traffic update. First, there is an accident. There are multiple accidents to report on. All right, first up on Suyeongno from Gwangan Station to KBS 3A intersection, there's an accident past Tamo Hospital. There is a cargo truck broken down on the ramp from Busan Port, so Budu Behu-도로 to the Dongso overpass in the Ganman direction. There's another accident on Hakjang-no from Hakjang intersection to Hakjang Songwol intersection in that direction. And there's another accident on Ulsukdo-dero from Saha Police Station to Ulsukdo Bridge, right in front of the Hanguk Jucheolgwan, the Korea Cast Iron Pipe Corporation. And unfortunately, another accident on Nakdong-namno, Myeongji to Hadan direction, a 3-car collision on Hagwon Bridge. So whatever's happening, let's be extra careful, especially if you're traveling by car today. Currently, it is 24 degrees Celsius, and it's going to go up to 32. The real feel right now, it feels more like 27. There are showers forecast right around lunchtime. Across the country, cloudy with showers in most regions. Some areas are expected to see heavy rain of up to 30 millimeters per hour. This was your traffic and weather. It's time for your special interview. So recently, the South Korean government announced plans to dissolve the prosecutor's office next year and divide its powers between 2 new agencies. It includes the creation of the Office of Public Prosecution, so in Korean that would be 공소청, under the Ministry of Justice, and a new investigative agency for serious crimes, so 중대범죄수사청, and that would be under the Ministry of Interior and Safety. So this major reform has sparked widespread debate and raised concerns among legal experts and other stakeholders. So Today, we're going to discuss the reasons behind the reforms and what it could mean for South Korea's justice system. Joining us is Professor Cho Hee-kyung, Associate Professor at the College of Law at Hongik University. Hi, welcome back, Professor.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, so what is the main reason for separating the powers of the prosecution's office? So it's been almost 8 decades, 78 years after its establishment. So this is pretty major, is it not, Professor?
You could say it's major, but you could also say that the attempt to reform the prosecution office has been going on for a long time. In fact, ever since, serious attempts have been made ever since Roh Moo-hyun administration, which is more than 2 decades ago. Now, if we look back to the reason why prosecution office had come to amass such great concentration of powers under its rubric, it's because they were essentially set up to counter the abuses that were being committed by the police officers back then. And prosecution office was supposed to protect human rights better. And even if you are investigating suspects, at least to, protect their basic rights so that they are not being abused and their powers are not being misused through the investigation process. But the fundamental principle of democratic institutions are all about checks and balances. We always talk about separation of powers, etc. And when you have a lot of power concentrated in one hands, it inevitably, it seems, leads to abuse of those powers. And particularly when you have the power of indicting or prosecuting someone, and you give monopoly of that power to one particular institution, and there's no other institution that can do that particular act. And that's a very important act in terms of maintaining justice.
Yes.
Then that institution can easily abuse that power simply by not prosecuting someone, even when they have committed serious crimes.
Yes.
And as well as what we see more often, which is to essentially over-prosecute. And by that, I mean inflate a very tiny misdemeanor into major offenses. And so this is why, the problem is that having both investigation power and indictment power into one agency, you essentially end up giving somebody to say, okay, you become judge and jury in the same case. So you have investigated the case, and you obviously want that case to be successfully prosecuted before the courts. And so in order to essentially boost the chance of your success before the court, you end up manufacturing or manipulating evidence. You end up creating evidence. You end up essentially coercing witnesses to provide false testimony. This is everything that prosecution office has actually done. I mean, I can give you so many examples, such as the Seoul City public servant who was a former defector from North Korea, and the prosecution office wanted to basically make him into a spy from North Korea, and they literally went and faked documents from Chinese public institutions, or made it seem as if these documents are from a Chinese public office.
Right.
The prosecution office shouldn't be doing things like that. That is just completely subverting the course of justice. The other endemic problem was that if you had any connection to the prosecution office, you could avoid prosecution. So most famous example is probably the former Deputy Justice Minister Kim Ha-gi. He was caught on camera essentially committing very serious sexual offense. And his face was clearly visible, but the prosecution office essentially basically claimed initially that it was not possible to recognize who that was, and so they were not able to prosecute him. And it ended up that the limitation period expired, and he did serve. He was prosecuted, but for some other type of offense. And so those kind of abuses have been going on for a very long time. And if you look at other countries, it's very rare that prosecution of power and investigation power are concentrated just in one hand.
Yes.
You do see some agencies that do have both powers, but there are always other competing agencies, so that you certainly can't get away with not prosecuting when you actually have to prosecute. And so those are some of the main reasons that I can give you as to why this is happening.
Well, thank you for explaining so thoroughly to our listeners today. So in terms of the two new agencies that are to be created, how are they going to differ in their roles and responsibilities?
So as you mentioned, the first agency, 공수청, the Office of Public Prosecution, as the name says, that's what they will be doing only, just prosecuting, i.e. indicting people and charging them with crimes. They won't be doing any investigation, and that agency will be supervised. It will be under the purview of the Justice Ministry.
Yes.
A separate agency, a new agency will be created, which will deal with serious crimes. This is very much modeled on the United Kingdom Serious Crimes Investigation Agency.
Yes.
And that will have the task of investigating serious kind of crimes, such as serious financial fraud, serious election crimes, and other serious, offenses like sexual, physical, etc. And this will belong to the Interior Ministry. Now, ordinarily, it would be more logical to also have this agency belong to the Justice Ministry, because essentially its function is to do with justice rather than Interior Ministry. But it's also to do with maintaining social order and ensuring public safety. So you can say that there are also connections with the Interior Ministry. But the main reason why this agency is going under the supervision of Interior Ministry is because the concern is that if you put the two agencies together under the Justice Ministry, then eventually they will just end up merging, and we'll end up having the same situation as what we have under present Public Prosecution Office, which is that investigation powers and indictment powers are concentrated in one hand.
Yes. Well, I do also want to hear about arguments against this reform. Why are certain people or certain circles against the separation of the powers or against this particular reform?
So there are criticisms on grounds of functionality and efficiency, and there are also criticisms on grounds of illegality, particularly accusation that this reform is unconstitutional. So I'll deal with the efficiency issue first.
Okay.
So what they're claiming is that because investigation and indictment will be separated and not being conducted under one agency, it will have to, police will have to, they will do their investigation, and then they will refer the case to the prosecution office, the new public prosecution office for indictment. But then the public prosecution office will look at the evidence that's been presented to them by the police, and they will think it's insufficient for maintaining an indictment. And so they will send it back to the police for further investigation or additional investigation.
Right.
It could be that, they have gotten the completely wrong suspect in the case, and they can see holes. And so the concern is that there will be back to and fro and back and forth too much between the two agencies, and they will become very inefficient. They're also arguing that there could be cases where police do not refer to the prosecution office cases that should actually be indicted, because police can simply just bury it because they don't necessarily want, the case to be prosecuted. And reasons could be various. It could be that they might be bribed by the suspect in the case. They might have somebody who's like a relative or, friends that's involved in the case, all kinds of things. And so that's one sort of efficiency, functionality issue. Second argument is that the Constitution requires that prosecutors must request warrant to be issued by the court. And they specifically use the word prosecutor, or in Korean, 검사. But under the proposed reforms, they're actually going to get rid of the word 검사 altogether. And so even if you're doing the job of maintaining indictment, what you're going to be called is a public indictment official. So 공소관. rather than 검사.
I see.
So it's almost a little bit like Shakespearean kind of question because, in Romeo and Juliet, Juliet asks, Romeo, why art thou Romeo? If rose by any other name, it would smell as sweet, right? So if you are called, even if you're not called 검사, prosecutor, but what you're doing is the job of prosecuting, then you still are a prosecutor. But
yes.
If you're going to be called public indictment officer, and the Constitution itself actually refers to a prosecutor rather than a public indictment officer.
I see.
Then there is a bit of a problem. And so they might actually have to amend that particular provision in the Constitution.
I see. Thanks for explaining the details of this. And finally, I do also want to get the take from the prosecutors at the moment in office. How have they responded to these changes? I'm sure some people not so happy.
I believe most of them are unhappy because they feel as if they will be losing their status and privilege that they have been enjoying, particularly after retiring from the public prosecution office. And that's really how many of them made a great deal of money after retiring from the office. So a lot of them are unhappy, and that's why there is a lot of resistance coming from the public prosecution office as well as from the opposition party who are sympathetic to the public prosecution office. And I also understand that special prosecution teams who are actually working on the illegal insurrection and the Kim Gon-hee investigation and also the death of the Marine.
Yes.
They are actually slowing down work because they are unhappy with the current ongoing reforms of their public prosecution office.
Yes.
And so that's a little bit concerning. But I know that there are also other prosecutors who also do not agree with the current situation, and they want to have a more just system that serves the people better. And so I think it's also somewhat split within the prosecution office itself, but I understand that majority are quite unhappy.
Yes, and as we wrap up our discussion today, Professor, do you think that these reforms that are proposed this time around will be able to make things more efficient, and also maybe about the public trust in Korea's criminal justice system? Do you think that the public trust will grow?
Well, the aim of the entire reform is really to increase public trust in the prosecution office, because at the moment it's nearly, in the nadir. It's really like just at the bottom. I think there is very, very little trust that the public has in the prosecution office because they have seen so clearly out in the open what they have been doing so far behind the curtains.
Yes.
And so at the beginning, possibly the efficiency may not be, as efficient as how the current system is operating, because that's how people are used to working.
Yes.
And so it might take some time for people to get used to things. But at the moment, what we need to concentrate on is to restore justice and to restore public trust in the system.
Yes.
And I think that's more important and urgent.
I see. Well, thank you so much for offering your insight into this very hot issue right now. Thanks for joining us today, Professor, and take care.
Thank you very much.
This is Professor Cho Hee-kyung, and we got her take on this separation of investigation and prosecution, the ongoing reforms of the prosecutor's office right now. We are going to take a song break, though, so here is a request from Benny. 이미 슬픈 사랑 by Yada. Enjoy. I'll be back in just a moment.
널 시간만큼 너의 부모님께 전해 들었지 나 아닌 사람과 결혼하게 된 걸 너 그렇게 힘든데 내게 말 못하고 울고 있던 게 생각나 떠나는 그대여 울지 말아요 슬퍼 말아요 내가 단념할게요 마음 편히 가시도록 내 사랑은 다 가날 떠나 행복할 수 있다면 내가 떠나갈게요 나의 그대 삶의 너무 걱정만 철었던 내가 너 없이 무엇도 할 수는 없지만 넌 널 위해 살아줘 나는 어떻게 살아갈 수 있을 거야 떠나는 그대여 울지 말아요 슬퍼 말아요 내가 단념할게요 마음 편히 가시도록 내 사랑은 다 가날 떠나 행복할 수 있다면 내가 떠나갈게요 그날 만나 느낀 기억도 내가 가질 행복도 모두 가져가세요 나의 그대 삶의
BEFM Morning Wave in Busan Fall Outdoor Special Stage. Fall for English-friendly Busan. What does it mean to live in an English-friendly Busan? And what role does English play as Busan rises as a global hub city?
올 가을 여러분에게 영어하기 편한 도시 부산으로 가는 길을 안내합니다.
This fall, on September 27th, Saturday at 3 p.m., join us for a special outdoor stage event at F1963 Open Square, featuring a thought-provoking panel with a professional English educator, Lee Bo-young, British broadcaster Peter Bint, K-pop idol Aaron, and me, Catherine. Plus, enjoy a special live performance by Busan's English-friendly city ambassador Kim Jo-han and singer-songwriter 커피소년. BEFM Morning Wave in Busan Fall Outdoor Special Stage. Fall for English-friendly Busan.
9월 27일 토요일 오후 3시 F1963 오픈스퀘어에서 여러분을 기다립니다.
It's time for our segment called Simply Ocean. And guess who's back in the studio? We have Hanajo, or Hannah. She is back in the studio with us. Last week we had you on, so welcome back.
Thank you for having me, Catherine.
I was
Hello,
worried.
everyone.
Is she coming back? You're back, yes. Yes.
Well, last week we
Yes.
talked about microfibers, and this week I'd like to start off with some striking news from Jeju Island.
Oh, from Jeju Island.
Yes.
What about Jeju?
Well, have you ever imagined diving into Jeju water and finding blue fishes around you? Then how do you feel?
I don't know. Like, I'll be honest, I've been to Jeju, but I haven't
dive into the water.
Right. Like, 그냥 like close but not, a little bit far away.
I understand.
그 정도까지만.
맞아요. I
네.
also have a phobia. But when you think of it, it's more like a tropical sea than just Jeju Island. Because these fishes are called blue-lined sea breams. Just 10 years ago, they couldn't leave our cold ocean.
Okay.
But now they become so common that scientists say they might even seem easier to spot than anchovies.
Oh, really?
Yes.
멸치보다 더 쉽게 볼 수 있다고요?
맞아요.
Ooh, so I mean, this whole idea though, like of having tropical fish, off the Jeju waters is kind of almost unbelievable, right? Because, I thought our winters and our water were kind of too cold for these tropical fish.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
So that used to be true, but with the ocean temperature rising, Jeju has become warm enough for species like blue-line sea bream not only to survive, but to thrive.
Ooh.
So recently, divers and fishermen also spotted the blue swimming crab, sometimes called a Taiwan crab, like 푸른 꽃게.
Okay.
Was issued months ago. Huge increase the number of their numbers in Italy.
Yes.
So Italian complaining all of the sudden fishes, it says numbers of crab. Then Korean gave the solution. Gave them all. Gave us them all.
We'll take them.
Yeah, we can make a 간장게장.
Yes.
We have enough consumption. So anyway.
But really, the fact that, the waters are getting warm enough for the blue-line sea bream, as you said, and these kind of 푸른 꽃게.
맞아요.
Okay. So, I mean, we often hear about these type of creatures, like definitely in warmer waters, like not in the vicinity of Korea, right?
Right.
Yes.
So it may sound like it couldn't be. People doesn't take it as a serious problem.
Yes.
Because one disappear, one take their places. But what's the matter? But it sounds simple, but changing species really big deal in many ways.
Yes.
So let's start with the economic ecosystem first.
Sure.
So when native species leave, the new one don't take the same role.
Okay. So let that sink in a little bit. So first we have the native species of whatever fish or sea creatures. So when they leave or die off and the new ones come, so you're saying they don't do the same thing. So give us some examples.
So think of the sea urchin.
Oh.
So normally certain fish keep their numbers balanced. So if those fish disappear, sea urchin multiply their number, so destroying seaweed forest and creating marine desert because they eat seaweed. They spend them all.
So we're talking about like sea urchins equals like 성게. 성게라면
맞아요.
더 우리 청취자분들이 더 들을 수 있는데요.
네.
Like so I've never even thought about this, but you're bringing it to our attention.
Right.
So even if this ocean looks alive, like there are sea creatures, it's not exactly maybe healthy. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
So actually, ocean problem is not happening in Busan, in Korea yet, but it became a very serious problem in California Bay Area.
Okay.
So and move to the economic part. So fishermen in Korea have long depended on familiar species like anchovies, mackerels, and hairtail 갈치.
그쵸.
So when these declines, fishermen is going to lose their income.
Of course. But some people might say, well, what if we catch the new tropical fish and then maybe export them or sell them, or I don't know. Because, there's always an economic angle.
Right,
we have to consider that, right?
But that's a problem in Korea.
Okay.
Because these new species often don't have established market.
Okay.
Because it's new for us.
True.
So people don't know how to cook them or eat them. It might not be able to fit our traditional cuisine as well.
That's true.
So even if fishermen catch them, they don't get a proper, bargain prices.
I see. So maybe not for profit, right? Or they're not making enough profit. So it's not just about catching fish, as you're saying. It's about whether people actually value them, right? I mean, is there a market for such tropical fish?
Right. So kids, these fishes are really tied into our culture as well. So in Korea, we make anchovy broth for soup.
Oh, yes.
And grilled mackerel for dinner.
Oh, 맛있겠다.
And braised hairtail. So these are everyday traditions.
Yes.
But if those fish disappear, it will change our food culture as well.
Right. I mean, I know many people, for example, you mentioned Jeju. When you go to Jeju, like the two top favorite foods people try out are the black pork, and then also the not the mackerel, the kaiju. Right. The hairtail is very popular. That's what it's known for, Jeju. So I can see it's not just biodiversity, which is important, but also our dinner table, our culture and identity.
Exactly. So, sorry.
It's okay. Are you okay? Yes.
Yes. And here's a sobering example. Cold War species like pollock, known in Korea as 명태, used to be one of the most important fish in our sea.
Yes.
In the 1970s and 80s, they fill our nets. But since late 1980s, their number has been collapsed. Well, today, they've been virtually disappeared from Korean water as commercial resources. So, that's the reason because of overfishing. And also, it could be another reason for rising sea temperature. But when fishermen catch juvenile fish or those in spawning season, recovering becomes more harder.
Yes, because when you think about it, from the fisherman's side, they need to catch fish. But then if they're too young or, as you say, spawning season, then you're actually depleting even more of the supply. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle almost, right? So that might show that it's not just climate, it's also human behavior, human choices.
Right. So climate change is often the door for tropical newcomers.
Yes.
But overfishing and bycatching accelerate the loss of the fish we long depends on.
Right. So if we look back to last week, Hannah, you brought us a documentary that really connected the listeners and the audience to the issue at hand. So I'm hoping you have one for us this week.
Of course.
Yes? Okay.
So this week, I'd like to share a short animated film titled The Disappearing Jewels directed by Will Kim. It's a deeply personal work that begins with the filmmaker remembering his grandfather, a blind man known as a walking weather forecast.
Oh.
So the opening scene is really, unforgettable. So next to an old boombox, see, as you see.
Yes, we see on our YouTube channel, yes.
Right, playing Korean chop music. And his grandfather wearing black sunglasses, usually, he was blind man, sits on a couch and tell us about the weather. So as a Korean-American animator, he used watercolor painting to illustrate the changes in the ocean caused by climate changes and rising sea temperatures. So it's not heavy-handed indeed. Instead, it feels accessible and relatable. And layer on the tops are interviews with ocean experts, so whose narration is paired with the stunning watercolor images. As we watch, it almost hypnotized with some sound effect.
I only saw snippets right now, but it is really beautiful. The watercolors?
Yes, it is.
Right,
it's really beautiful. And while you're watching it, you'll realize you're learning about, problem unfolding beneath the waves. So for me, it feels like more than a film because it was like a visual reports that not only points out we are losing, but also organizes the reason and possible solutions as well. So honestly, it's kind of film that I wanted to show every student in Korea and the world.
It's that powerful, right?
Yes, it's that powerful.
I mean, with the visuals of the watercolors, plus you're saying their narration of experts talking about what people are viewing, right? So you're enjoying the imagery plus really, gaining knowledge as well. It does sound like the film does a good job of balancing maybe education, but also adding a little bit of emotion.
Yeah, especially as a Korean American.
Yes.
So probably will more, close with it. And this story resonate with you. I recommend to watch this full 15 minutes. It's really short.
Okay.
15 minutes version.
Okay.
You can find it not easily by searching on Google. So it's short, but it leaves a lasting impressions about why ocean warming matters, not just for the environment, for our families and our future.
Right. So, I mean, sometimes like people get it in theory, like, oh, this is bad for an environment and, global warming, the warming of our seas. But then, when you bring it back home and talk about like the fishing aspect and how it affects maybe even our dinner table, then people will take notice. So I do want to maybe, before I let you go, of course, can you give us some practical steps on how our listeners and our audience can take in and respond to some of these changes?
So I'll suggest the 3 things, just like usual. So number 1, be mindful of energy use. Reducing carbon emission helps slowing, ocean warming.
Ah, yes. So there is a link, right? Yes, if we can use less energy, that does directly equate into, reducing carbon emissions, and that means slowing that trend, ocean warming. Okay, number 2.
Number 2, supporting sustainable seafood choices. For example, avoiding overfished species or buying seafood with eco label like MSC certification. I brought this water bottle on purpose. I hope that you could see.
Yes.
There's a mark here with fish.
Ah, the little mark, yes.
This is the certificated, MSC certification.
That's what we should be looking for.
Right.
Oh, okay,
at the market.
Okay. So, that's a good one. I'm glad you brought a visual.
Yeah.
Okay.
And number 3, avoid harmful fishing practice. So don't catch or eat juvenile fish. Like 너무 작은 애기들 물고기 있잖아요. 노가리 이런 거 먹으면 안 돼요.
네.
And avoiding fish during spawning season as well. And support effort to reduce bycatching and overfishing.
Right. So these are things that we can actually do.
Right.
I mean, we love all the theory. In theory, it sounds, like, oh, it's kind of like, can we really affect and make changes? But you just gave us 3 ways in which we can do so. So thank you once again for giving us this story. Of course, the information on this short film as well. And we look forward to next week as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. This was Hannah Jo once again with Simply Ocean. And before we call it a wrap for today, just in case you didn't hear that spot where, we were talking about the special live stage, 공개 방송. Once again, it is September 27th. So not this Saturday, but next Saturday, the 27th, 3 p.m. at F1963, F1963. I can't believe it's coming up so quickly because we've been planning it, our staff, especially our producer, working hard behind the scenes to bring you an excellent event. And I hope to see many of you there. So come check us out. It's time to wrap up and say goodbye. So thanks to our producer, Choi-Ji. We have our assistant producer, Kang Hee-jin. We have our writers, Haley-Sa, Soo Kim. I'm your host, Catherine. I'll be back to do it all over again tomorrow. So how about this one? Holiday by Susie and Joy. I'll be back tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
오늘의 날씨는 더 맑아 내 기분 탓일까 Anyway 나 이대로 잠이 들 것 같아 또 좋은 꿈을 꿀 것 같아 네가 있어서일까 나른해 나 이대로 바빴던 지친 일상 안녕하고 잠시만 쉬렴 말해주는 너 마치 자장가처럼 따뜻한 햇살처럼 날 감싸줘 오늘은 holiday 네 품에 안겨 있을래 온몸에 힘이 받치네
하지만 앨범 작업 때문에 바빠 늘 힘들면서 왜 안 해 내 second 마음에 안 들어 너 지금 데려갈 거니까 너가 좋아하는 걸로 그거 딱 입고 있음 30분 지나 있을 거고 문을 열어주면 내가 있을게 내게 하게 it's okay Let me be your holiday